Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans, and attached to this very short intro is an hour-long interview I had with a fellow who I'll call Mike a week or so ago, and it's a very controversial discussion. It's basically one of these conspiracy theories about countries being actually companies and being owned by powerful forces who are treating us like slaves. Now, look, I'm just putting that out there because it's very interesting for my subscribers to come back and tell me what they think about this. And I'm looking at it in perspective of what's happening in South Africa, because in a humane world, governments would not be treating minority groups in South Africa like this. And that is my whole basis of actually running this interview that I've been sitting on, because I cannot believe that countries like the US, Australia, Canada, France, UK, Holland, Belgium, Portugal, Greece, go on, would be holding out and refusing humanitarian visas to the white South Africans who are facing an incredible amount of persecution in South Africa. There's got to be something else happening behind the scenes. I don't know what it is. And I'm not suggesting what Mike talks about in this interview is what it is. But I'm just putting it out there so that you can hear his perspective, his point of view. He will confirm I've sat on this for a couple of weeks because I just thought, no. And he's just sent me a link, which I'll put down below, which is a list of countries, also known as corporations, listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Now, for all the fellows who follow my channel, who are researchers, there's a host of information here. I'm putting this out to you guys to go and do your research and email me. I'll put my email address down below the actual link. And if you got other information which confirms that South Africa, for example, is actually a company owned by the United Nations and a very wealthy banking family and has absolutely no democracy, no independence, it's just a shell company, please put your comments down below or send me an email. All right, guys, here it comes. I think you'll find the discussion quite interesting, and you'll note my skepticism all the way through. But I'm just giving this an airing because I think it's that important. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed, ring the bell for updates, and have a great day. Bye for now.
Volume is actually at 100%.
Well, that'll do. That works. I can hear you. Now, Mike, I've got a few emails from you over the last few days. And I have to tell you that I am one of those people who is kind of, when it comes to conspiracy theories, I'm kind of sort of like, okay, prove it to me. Now, you mentioned to me that South Africa is actually a company and that we are all basically stooges to the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. Can you just break that down bit by bit, starting with South Africa?
Okay, well, let me go back. This goes back hundreds of years, okay?
Okay.
And this plot has been going on forever, okay? And I can give you so much proof that your mind will boggle, and you can check all the stuff out yourself, okay? But it goes back centuries, but I'm not going to go back centuries. I'm just going to go back a couple of hundred years to the Napoleonic Wars.
Right.
Rothschilds sent his 5 sons to the financial capitals of the world, London,
I
Vienna,
know all about that, yeah.
Paris, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Now, in those days, there were no telephone lines, no internet, no nothing. So it was the richest people who owned the fastest marathon runners, the fastest racehorses, and the fastest racing yachts. and the Rothschilds were by far the fastest or the wealthiest family in the world.
I think it was pigeons that actually helped him kill the stock market in London after Battle of Waterloo.
It could well be, but anyway, his messenger got back to London 23 hours before the mainstream press, and his messenger walked up to him while he was standing against a pillar in the London Stock Exchange, whispered in Nathan Rothschild's ear, and Nathan Rothschild immediately looked downcast and gloomy. That sent a signal to everybody that Wellington had lost and Napoleon had won. There was a panic sale of all shares on the London Stock Exchange.
And Rothschild actually participated in the sale too, apparently.
Well, he did to some extent, but he had nominees buying up England for pennies on the pound in the background.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, they were also bankers to the Vatican as well. And they also realized that they needed powerful bloodlines to work with. And now they were super wealthy. They had the royal family in the palm of their hand. And they formed up a company called the Crown. Okay. Now, the Vatican, together with the Crown, together with the Rothschilds, basically the Jesuits, the Zionists. Now, there's a difference between Zionists and Jewish people. Zionism is a cult, okay? Have you read the Protocols of Zion? I'll give you the 20 protocols.
Yes, I've read them, yeah, about how they manipulate the media and all that sort of stuff,
Okay. So basically, all that kind of stuff is carrying on. They also hijacked America. They took it over illegally. I'll read you
How did they take over America? I mean, this is what I cannot understand. You're talking about a sovereign state like the USA. How can it now be owned by the Rothschilds?
Okay, well, let me explain to you, okay? When you are born, your birth certificate is ceded by the government to the Reserve Bank, who in turn cede it to the IMF and the World Bank as collateral security for South Africa's debt. What they do is they create a name, a company in your name. Now, my full name is Michael Allen Geraghty. And that name, that full name is all in capital letters. And being in full capital letters like that, it denotes a company. It's a legal fiction. I am not that company. So when you go into court and the judge says, are you Michael Allen Geraghty? Your automatic answer is yes. The answer is no, you're not. I am a soul, a human being standing here on the ground. And what you are holding in your hand, sir, is a legal fiction. It's yours. You can have it if you want it. He won't take it. But essentially, they have created a company out of South Africa, Republic of South Africa Pty Limited, which is a listed company. And then there's, of course,
you sent me that PDF the other day, which I had a look at. That actually, can I just intercede? That actually just caught my attention, because how can you have a country that is actually, in effect, a company owned by
Australia is too. I can send you Australia's one as well, okay? Australia's also owned. They're all listed companies, and they all privately. Now, Nathan Rothschild said that I care not who rules a country as long as I rule its money. And there's another saying of his as well. I've got a whole lot of his sayings somewhere. I can't find it offhand. But he says something like that no politician will be able to resist this free money. We have them clear and dry. And let me just read you this. Let me find it quickly and read you this conversation between Woodrow Wilson and one of the founders of the Federal Reserve. Just hold on 1 second. This will blow your head right off. Let me read it to you.
Okay.
So it's going to take me a minute or two to find my computer's slow.
That's okay.
It's one of these.
While you're looking for it, let me ask you this question. Are you saying to me that when you go and vote for a party, a political party in Australia or South Africa,
Yeah,
or
it
in the
doesn't matter.
UK, you actually, your vote means absolutely nothing?
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because when they swear allegiance, Rudd or whoever, Howard or whoever your prime minister is, I don't know, I haven't been following Australian politics for years. Whoever your prime minister is swearing allegiance to that Australian company that's listed in Washington, D.C. And I've got a copy of Australia's registration certificate here.
Why is it listed in Washington, D.C.?
Because it's privately owned. It's the major shareholders, unless you're a member of the SEC, they do not, in actual fact, give you the names of the actual holders. But I've read so many books, and I've picked it up just from reading.
Mike, I've got to tell you something. That I've heard about the City of London, that square mile, being
it's a private country
zone within the whole of the UK, and I've heard about that Spear, which is in Washington DC, being in this restricted area, which is kind of owned by the Rothschilds, which is all tax-free. Is that for real?
Yes, that's all for real. Those are all separate countries, completely separate countries.
So this bullshit, you're trying to say to me this thing about democracy is all bullshit.
It's all a lie. We are all slaves. We are all slaves. We are all owned. When you register your child at the with the government, Regis means crown. Okay, Regis means crown. Register, Regis, crown. Stir means title. What you're doing is you're giving title to the crown. They own you.
So who's the crown?
The crown is whoever owns the country, which is the Vatican, the Rothschilds, the Queen.
But we're a Commonwealth country, aren't we? Here in Australia, for example. Doesn't that mean?
But you are owned by the Queen and the Vatican. I can tell you right now. You do not own yourself. Oh shit.
I have to tell you, Mike, that look, I understand what you're trying to say, but I find it very hard to fathom, as a free-thinking human being, that I'm owned by someone who I have no association with.
Okay, let me just explain. Let me just explain a bit further to you. I can't find the bloody document I wanted to read you. We have been brought up in school, and the school education system has taught us what I call propaganda, and we've all sucked it in hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
And are you there still?
I'm here, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Now, we've basically been, how can I put it, indoctrinated, brainwashed. We do not know the truth at all. Because everything that we've ever been told, everything we've ever been taught is a complete and utter lie. We are basically slaves in bondage. I need to read you this letter by one of the founders of the Federal Reserve to Woodrow Wilson. I'm telling you right now, this is going to blow your head clean off.
I think I know the one you're talking about. I do a lot of research on this sort of stuff, and I know what you're talking about. I have to tell you that there's a huge amount of concern in my head about the role of the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and these, the Morgan Stanleys and all these huge, very, very wealthy families who have totally screwed over people. But I draw the line when it comes to their influence at a financial level. I cannot.
Have you
Hang on, let me finish. I cannot believe. I cannot believe that a sovereign country like Australia is actually beholden, and it's a company which is owned by one of these guys. That to me makes no sense at all. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Show me the documentation.
I will. Just give me a second. My computer is really, truly slow. It's only got 2 gigs of RAM. It's one of these like little notepads.
Okay.
And it's not like a full-blown laptop with 16 gigs of RAM type thing, you know.
Yeah, that's okay.
The story of us being turned into unwitting slaves. I mean, it's very hard for some people to believe, and the fact that the Queen owns New Zealand, Australia, United States, Canada. A lot of people find that hard to believe as well, but it's absolute fact. And
so,
I can
so
prove
it's not
it
the
all.
Rothschilds. It's not the Rothschilds who own Australia, for example. It's the Queen of England.
Well, the Rothschilds own a company with the royal family, and this company is in that square mile of London you were talking about it.
Yeah.
And the company is called the Crown. Okay. Of which the Queen is a patron.
Yeah.
And they own Lockheed Martin and all of these things that they shouldn't actually be owning, defense companies that make chemical weapons and all kinds of shit.
Yeah. Now, look, just on that point. Okay, now let's take South Africa. Why is South Africa being marginalized when it comes to the minority groups? And I'm not just talking the whites, I'm talking about the coloreds and the Indians, who are facing a horrendous situation where you've got the Bantu tribes, the majority, who are just doing them over, and the rest of the world is looking the other way. Please explain that in context of what you're talking about.
Okay. Look, I do not know the answer to everything, but from what I read, and this is what I gather, okay, there is this UN Agenda 21 and UN Agenda 2030.
Yeah,
and their stated goal, and you can look it up. Ted Turner's one of the Council of Foreign Relations and Bilderbergers and all of that. He wants the world population down to 200 to 300 million. Now, you've heard of the Stonehenge in the UK, I take it.
I was actually at the Stonehenge in March this year. I actually walked around it.
Okay. Now, in America, they spent millions on creating a Stonehenge that is lined up with the stars and with various objects in the sky, perfectly just like Stonehenge is in the UK. And they've written on it in universal languages, in I think about 11 languages or something. I can't remember the exact amount.
Yeah.
The protocol for the world, and one of the protocols. You go to just write this down right now while I'm talking to you. Write down Boston.
Yeah.
Stonehenge. Boston Stonehenge.
I've got
and have a look at it.
Yeah.
These rich people want to keep the world population below 500 million people. That means like about 7.5 million of us have to go.
So you're suggesting that what's going on in South Africa is like it's almost like a trial version of extermination of people, not only just minority groups, but let them starve. So the majority groups exterminate the minority groups. They starve because there are too many of them, and they just fall into a big heap, and only a few million survive. Is that what you're trying to suggest?
What I'm trying to suggest to you is that United Nations is filled up with people who are absolutely no different whatsoever to Hitler and Joseph Stalin. Okay? We are facing war. They want to exterminate us. I have no doubt about that whatsoever.
Now, Michael, just so that we understand this, you don't live in South Africa, do you?
I live in Johannesburg.
Oh, so you're actually in
I'm from
South Africa.
Yes, yes. Let me explain to you. I'm 60 years old. I came out
Yeah.
here in 1963
Yeah.
with my parents. Okay, we lived in South Africa for 1 year,
Yeah.
and after 1 year, we moved to Lesotho, Maseru,
Oh, I know Monsieur.
where okay, my father ran the electricity. They before they started importing electricity from South Africa,
Yeah.
Lesotho had its own power station.
Yeah.
And my father was an electrical engineer who helped run that power station in Lesotho, and we lived there for 6 years. Then in 1970, we moved from Lesotho back down to Cape Town, and I did my schooling in Cape Town, and I moved to Joburg when I was round about 28, and I've been here ever since.
Okay. Now, are you suggesting, for example, that the reason the mainstream media are totally ignoring what's going on in South Africa when it comes to minority groups, like the farm murders with the whites, is part of this conspiracy theory, which is the extermination of groups of people that they don't want to be around in the future?
It is part of that, but I don't know if the actual newspapers or the people publishing them know that. But remember that the world's press is essentially controlled by about 12 different families or 12 different people. Now,
like the
I
Murdoch.
used to be, I used to be in advertising, and I can tell you right now about about 70% of all news comes from Reuters. Now,
Yeah.
the Rothschilds own Reuters.
Mm.
The other 30% comes from a corporation called Associated Press, ASAP.
Right.
And Reuters owns Associated Press. So you can basically say almost 100, like 99.9% of all news comes directly from one source.
Okay.
And the world's education system is all part of this new UN, what I forget what they call the education system, but it's all been designed to indoctrinate our children that the earth is good and that we are bad, and to break up the family and
Okay. I need to interrupt you, okay? Because look, I have a YouTube channel which has been targeted continually by YouTube police. Is that because it doesn't follow the agenda of the people you're talking about?
absolutely, you've knocked it on the head. You've knocked it on the head. You've knocked it on the head.
Well, yeah, I have to tell you, Michael, that I find it fascinating talking to people who've got conspiracy theories, and that you might be right on the money. I don't know. I don't know. All I'm doing is I'm just giving you this time because I think it's important that my subscribers hear a different perspective on what people are thinking. Now, are you able to provide me with documents which I can attach to a video that I can publish, which will support your perspective?
Yes, don't ask me to send it all in the next 10 minutes or the next half an hour, but I'll send them one by one over the next sort of like 5, 10, 15 days. Is that okay with you?
That's fine. Look,
I don't know where.
How about we start with 2 or 3 documents, and all you have to do is provide me with a link to those documents.
Yeah.
And I can put this video up, and I'll make it very clear to my subscribers that I am not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe that the Rothschilds own me, because I know who owns me, and that's me. Maybe there's something hidden behind the scenes, but yeah.
Well, you do own you, and that's why when you go to court, you are not you. You are not Scott, whatever your full name is. Okay? Yeah. I am a soul standing here in front of you in court on firm ground. Remember, all of our legal system is all based upon the naval legal system. Just think about it. You got everything is to do with water. In a courtroom, you have a dock. Okay, where do ships dock? Docks. You have cash flow. You have frozen assets. You have currency, current. Okay, it all comes from maritime law. We are all considered dead. Okay, they have stolen our birth certificates and ceded them to the bank, and we essentially work for the banks. Everything that we own, our properties, our houses, everything is all ceded to the bank. Now,
so you're saying to me that if I've got a house and I've paid off the loan and I don't owe a cent to the bank, it's still owned by the bank. Is that what you're trying to say to me?
Yeah, and if South Africa goes bankrupt, they'll take your house too. The IMF or whoever's been ceded to will take your house too, even if you've paid it 100%.
Yeah.
I've got a whole lot of information here too about the 1930s Great Depression. What they did was a crime against humanity. Okay, let me read this to you quickly. Oh, shit,
Yeah, sure.
where's it bloody... Sorry, just...
And look, when it comes to documents for this video, just provide me that PDF again, which shows that South Africa is now a company owned by Wall Street. If you can do the same for Australia, and if you can do the same for, let's say, the United Kingdom.
Yeah, if I can find them all. I've had these things on computers for years, and some of those computers no longer in existence. So I'm going to have to go on a bit of a.
But before I can put this video up, I need to see that stuff. Because
no, I understand. You can't just.
We're talking a huge conspiracy theory here.
Okay.
I don't want to.
Let me just.
And I just have to say to all my subscribers that this is me allowing someone to present their point of view. I don't particularly believe in what Mike is saying, but let's put it out there. See what people say.
Yeah, look, the problem is that nobody, probably bar 2 or 3%, who've kind of like read some of the stuff, will consider it total and utter propaganda. I'll tell you what actually what blew my brain about 35 years ago. Let me just give you some background.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you've heard of the Free Market Foundation in South Africa, headed by Leon Lowe.
Yes, I have.
My brother-in-law, his name is Fred McCaskill.
Mm-hmm.
Fred McCaskill co-founded the Free Market Foundation in South Africa.
I've heard his name, yeah.
Okay. He also written a couple of books that sit in economics libraries around the world. Mm-hmm. He's a very, very clever guy, a mathematical genius. He used to teach actually. Now, Fred worked for quite a few years with a guy called Harry Schultz. Now, Harry Schultz was in the Guinness Book of Records something like about 25 years in a row. I mean, this is like quite mind-boggling as the world's highest paid financial advisor. I mean, this guy advises like the billionaires and millionaires and gazillionaires of this world. I mean, that's how in high esteem this guy's advice is. But most of his advice was how these billionaires could legally evade paying taxes. And there are many ways of legally evading taxes. The one is to have no permanent domain. You own house in 5 countries and you spend 5 or 6 weeks in each, and you have butlers and people who run the house, and you just keep on moving from country to country. So you never in one country and obligated for tax because you don't stay there long enough. That's the method, but it's not suitable to a lot of people.
Or you have a tax-free zone like the City of London.
Whatever, however you do it. And then the other method was to tackle government directly and take them to court and become what they call a sovereign individual. Incidentally, on the FBI's website, and you can look that up, the FBI's website, they register sovereign individuals as terrorists. Anyway, let me just read this to you quickly. This is a conversation between Edward Mandelson, who was one of the co-founders of the Federal Reserve. Just incidentally,
can you provide the document or the link so I can put that?
I'll send this to you. I'll send this to you. I can also tell you something else that I cannot prove, but there is so much evidence of it that it's mind-boggling. But it's all bits and pieces of evidence. Do you know that the Titanic, when it went down, had about 200 bankers from opposition European banks on their way to America to stop the Federal Reserve, to stop the US Congress ratifying the Federal Reserve? And
but I have to tell you that that's where I draw the line, because that Titanic, the iceberg was just in the ocean. They didn't have sort of GPS and stuff like that back then. And that was just an extraordinary coincidence. So it suggests that, these Rothschilds put that iceberg in the middle of the ocean, and the Titanic is bullshit.
Was there an iceberg? Was there an iceberg?
Yeah, apparently there
was. Why did they stop all the males leaving at gunpoint?
Are you suggesting it wasn't an iceberg?
I'm suggesting that one must consider the possibility that it was deliberately sunk. Okay.
But hang on. The guy, the captain of the Titanic, said in exchanges by the system they used back then to people in the area that we have hit an iceberg.
Okay.
How do you explain that?
Is he telling the truth? Was he paid? He committed suicide, Could he handle not what he'd done?
Why would he say something that hadn't happened if he's going to commit suicide? I mean, surely he would be.
I'll send you some of the links of what I've got, and I don't know if I believe it. I don't know if I don't believe it, but it has definitely raised question marks in my head. What these guys,
Mike, I have to tell you that, look, I am so often called a conspiracy theorist, okay, because I talk about shit that's happening in South Africa.
Yeah.
I know exactly where you're coming from. I get the same bloody thing, but without the empirical evidence, you're farting in the wind. It's going.
Okay, well, let me.
Without that empirical evidence, I'm happy to put this up, but I need some links.
Okay.
That confirm what you're trying to say, and I'll put it out there, and I'll let my subscribers decide what they think about this, because I've got to tell you, I cannot believe that South Africa is a company and it's not a democracy, and I cannot believe that Australia is a company and it's not a democracy.
Well, I've just sent you the proof. You've just held it in your hand. You've just looked at it, and you can go to the Securities.
But send it to me, and I will put it under this video and let my subscribers. A lot of them are lawyers and they're very smart people. They can have a look at it and decide. Please let me finish. And I cannot believe that me, as an individual, an Australian, I used to be a British citizen. That I was British before I became Australian, even though I lived in South Africa for a long time. I cannot believe that I'm on someone's shareholder list or something as an asset or an entity, or that to me is it just does make no sense at all. So I need you to provide me the evidence that that's the case.
Okay, let me put it to you this way. The American Securities and Exchange Commission actually exists. It's not like something that Mike Garrity here made up.
I know about the SEC. Yeah, I know about the SEC.
Okay. Now, that registration certificate of South Africa and Australia's there, and all other countries are there. That registration certificate is also something that I got directly from their website. It's not just something that
All right. Okay. Just send me those certificates in PDF form, and I will
Okay.
actually link below the video that I put up. I'll put them up on one of my websites, and people can go and have a look at them and have a look at what's going on, because I've got some very, very smart people who actually follow my channel.
Well, some of those smart people
Hang
can
on.
talk to me.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm happy to put you in touch with them. But what I'm not happy to do is to go out there and endorse what you're saying when there are huge holes in it. Okay? So if you provide me with the evidence that supports what you're trying to say, I'm happy to put this up on my channel.
Okay.
I'm very
Well,
happy. I just need to say, for those people who are watching this, that I do not endorse what you're saying, and I would like them to go and have a look at the evidence that you're providing and pass their comments below. And if the consensus is that what you're saying is correct, so be it. So this is your opportunity.
Okay, let me just read this to you. I found it finally, quickly. It'll take me a couple of minutes, and it's a conversation with Edward Mandelhouse and Woodrow Wilson.
And if you can provide the link to this as well.
I'll send you a copy of it, but let me just read it to you quickly, because this will blow your head right off.
Okay, go ahead.
Here we go. This is Mandelhouse, okay? Very soon, every American will be required to register their biological property in the national system designed to keep track of the people, and that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as a chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American will be forced to register or suffer not being able to work and earn a living. This will be our chattel. In other words, they're referring to people as cattle, okay? And we will hold the security interest over them forever by operation of the law merchant under the scheme of secure transactions. Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivering the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent forever, to remain economic slaves through taxation, secured by their pledges. They will be stripped of their rights and given a commercial value designed to make us a profit, and they will be none the wiser. For not one man in a million could ever figure out our plans. If by accident one or two figure it out, we have in our arsenal plausible deniability. Okay? Plausible deniability. After all, this is the only logical way to fund government by floating liens and debts to the registrants in the form of benefits and privileges. This will inevitably reap us huge profits beyond our wildest expectations and leave every American a contributor to this fraud, which we will consider social insurance, social security. Okay. Without realizing it, every American will insure us any loss we may incur, and in this manner, every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. The people will become helpless and without any hope for their redemption, and we will employ the high office of the presidency of our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America.
Is that the end of it?
That's it.
Okay,
and I got that.
Hang on, Mike. I need that link, that document. It's got to be credible. I need also those PDFs, which are like South Africa is now a company, not a country. And Australia, if you can do the same for Australia, because I live in Australia. And I have to tell you that I am the word that you raised there, which really resonated with me was fiat currency, because fiat currency is in Greek. It means let it be. They can just create it out of fresh air, and that is the huge problem that we have in our world economic society today.
Well, they intend to use it to kill us. Let me just explain this to you, okay? This is what most people do not understand. They've got no effing clue what's going on. In the world, in real, actual money that actually exists, okay, I believe there's about $1.5 trillion worth.
Mm-hmm. And that's gold, based on gold.
Yeah, about $1.5 trillion worth. But the problem is that through derivatives and through fractional reserve banking,
they keep on just multiplying.
These guys have created somewhere, and depending on whose expertise you read and who you believe, anywhere between 2.5 and 4.5 trillion in worthless paper credits. That means that
I totally believe that, and I totally understand that.
So you basically what you have is 4,000 people owning every single dollar. So what you got is like 4,000 claims to every single dollar. When this next system collapses, and I've got a copy from some books that I read over here, some points that I made about what they did during the Great Depression. I mean, they kept on raising taxes and raising taxes and raising taxes. It was like absolutely horrific what the bankers and what the US government did to the people to create one of the greatest wealth transfers in history. And the next one is coming now. And you got to realize these guys think that they're entitled to it and they're going to get it.
Well, I have to raise something here with you. One of the communities that my channel works closely with are the farmers at Bultfontein in the Orange Free State. You know, they are amazing people. They are real heroes. I mean, they just do so much to help their own community. And a lot of them, in fact, about half of the farms in Bultfontein are about to be repossessed by the banks in South Africa, and mainly the First National Bank. And it's an absolutely appalling situation, because the ANC government, despite declaring Bultfontein as a disaster area, didn't put 1 cent into helping these guys out, even though they are the breadbasket of South Africa. And
okay, let me explain to you the biggest argument that they've got, and they've got to use it solidly, is the fact that the banks created that money for those loans out of nothing. It cost the banks absolutely nothing.
That's exactly right.
Go for the underbelly. They've got to go for the underbelly of the bank and absolutely turn it and make the judge see it for the evil institution that it is. Okay. Yeah. The banks created that money out of nothing. Now they own those farms out of something that they created out of nothing. Now, when I studied criminal law.
Okay, hang on. I have to say, I 100% agree with you on that. 100% agree with you on the fact that the banks created the money out of nothing, and now they're going to try and claim the property from the farmers when they actually have no real credibility over doing that.
What the farmers, I think, have got to do immediately is register a patent over the farm, as well as the fact that the government owns the title deeds or the registered deeds. You see, that's the problem. We have to start standing up for our rights and tell government and council when we buy property that we want to own it, what's called allodial rights, which means that the government has no rights or claims over it forever, which also means that you don't ever pay any rates or taxes. Okay? But what they've got to do is they have to attack the belly of the beast. And the weakness that the bank have is that every single thing in their contract with them is a lie. The fact that it's fractional reserve, the money was created out of nothing. It does not exist. There are so many lies and exemptions and absolute crap in those contracts that they need to absolutely savage the banks as being the biggest scum liars on the earth and point out lie after lie after lie in those contracts. And I can tell you what, there's probably at least 3 or 4 dozen lies in those contracts.
Michael, just the devil's advocate. How can I trust anything you're saying? I mean, what's your background? How do you know all this shit?
Sure. I read a lot, study a lot, research a lot, read millions of books, spoken to millions of people. As I said to you,
Do you
my
have any
brother-in-law,
qualifications as a lawyer or an advocate or anything like that?
I studied property law through the University of Port Elizabeth, but it's not a degree. It's more like a what do you call it? A certificate.
A diploma.
A diploma. That's it. You got the right word. I've also studied what they call technical analysis. In the UK, technical analysis is a degree if you pass the exams. Here in South Africa, technical analysis, that's technical analysis of markets, okay, like stock markets, bond markets, gold markets, whatever you like to call the markets.
Yeah.
It's a study of markets. In the UK, it's considered a degree, but in South Africa, it's not considered a degree. But I've done about at least 15 courses on technical analysis, including some at varsities.
Okay. Now, Michael, I have to tell you, so much of what you said makes a lot of sense, okay? And it's what I've been feeling. But, you know, you got to understand the situation that out there, the media say, oh, conspiracy theory, and bullshit like that. So, you know, I need from you to get those PDFs, which you sent me one on South Africa. And, you know,
I'll send you some more. I just want to mention something. I'll interrupt you over here. Conspiracy theory is the biggest enemy that we have. It was actually a saying that was created by the CIA after JFK. There were people who swore that they saw bullets come through the front windscreen and from other directions, etc. But none of that fitted the narrative. So they called all of those witnesses who saw a bullet coming through the front windscreen as conspiracy theorists. And then eventually, I suppose, people then start, hey, did I imagine that? And they start, and they've basically gotten away with it. What I have found is that almost every single thing is a lie. There are no conspiracy theories. Almost every single conspiracy theory has some thread of truth in it somewhere.
Yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. Now getting back to South Africa, what do you think is actually running South Africa? Do you think that Cyril Ramaphosa, who I call Hippo Eyes, is actually in control, or do you think that he's getting his message from someone outside South Africa?
Well, I think that he ultimately works for bosses and for people outside South Africa. But what I'm trying to say to you is that when he makes laws for the Republic of South Africa, he's actually making laws for a company which is a foreign-held company overseas. As far as I'm concerned, and this is where
when I get that document, I will put it below this video.
As far as I'm concerned, those laws just don't count. Now, if you think about it, just think about the judge. You ask the judge who he works for. He says, okay, I work for the Republic of South Africa. In actual fact, he works for that company that's based in Washington. What he says in court is irrelevant because he has nothing to do with it. What he's representing is a Washington-based company. He's not representing South Africa or what's going on in the ground here right now. So to me, you either single or you married. You cannot be both. South Africa cannot be a democracy and at the same time a company. It's either a democracy or...
Now, getting back to that judge, does that judge know that he's actually part of a company, or does he believe that he's part of a democratic country?
He possibly believes that he's part of a democratic country, which means that you've actually caught him out lying because he didn't know the answer, the truthful answer. The moment you've caught him out lying and admitting that he works for that Washington-based company, which he cannot say he doesn't, then whatever he says is absolute crap. It's rubbish.
So
Goodbye, Judge.
What's the name of that Washington-based company?
It's the Securities and Exchange Commission.
So you're saying to me that the Securities and Exchange Commission basically have a number of countries as companies under their control?
Yes, including Australia.
Okay. Look, let's cut to the quick, because I don't want to make this too long. Send me the documents, PDF form, and I will link them below this video and make them available to people, which demonstrate what you're trying to say about the SEC and the companies. And also send me that information regarding the, what was it? There was something else that was key to this whole discussion. What was it? It's been a long day, I tell you.
Yeah.
All right,
Look,
well,
I mean,
let's start off with those two documents regarding Australia and South Africa, demonstrating that they're companies and not actually countries.
I'll send you as much as I possibly can,
Yeah.
and
Don't
I can
send
tell
me
you
too
something.
much because I'm so friggin' busy.
Okay, but also I just wanted to say that I would say 80% of what I say I can back up with facts. I can actually show you and back it up with facts. About 20% of what I say I can only back up with personal knowledge from having read books and seen evidence of it somewhere.
Yeah.
I cannot bring you or show you that evidence, but there's nothing to stop you or anybody spending a week or two going through this. And I think what people need to do is people must not dismiss this stuff. They must actually
look. The reason we're talking is because I do not dismiss this stuff. That's the only reason we're talking. So let's get that clear. Now, all I'm asking you to do is to provide me with empirical evidence of what you're saying. Okay, and
I'll start sending you some stuff.
If you can do that in an email, you got my email address, and I've got emails from you. I remember the other thing was about how am I beholden to some entity which I don't know of. So if you can provide evidence of that as well.
Okay, the fact that your birth certificate is handed over.
Don't explain it. Just provide the link, which spells it out, and I will put that below this video, and people can go and assess and determine what they believe. Because I've got
a couple of links to some videos that you must watch as well. So I'm going to put you up links.
That's fine. I'll just link them below the video I put up. But my main focus on this channel is trying to help the minority groups, which are the whites, the coloreds, and the Indians, and other minorities in South Africa, from the absolute persecution they are facing in South Africa. And
I would say your goes a lot further. It's about saving 7.5 billion people who they want to exterminate.
Well, let's target South Africa. That's my focus. I am ex-South African. I really don't care too much for the Chinese. I'm not too worried about that population. But certainly when it comes to my kindred South Africans, I am very concerned about their future. And what's going on in Europe right now is a complete disaster with open borders. There's some crazy stuff happening. We all know that. And if you can put some light onto that, that's fantastic. But I need the evidence before I can put this up on the channel. So I need I need those documents which say, hey, South Africa is actually a company, it's not a country, and whatever laws are passed in that country, they're worth diddly squat because the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers or the whoever they are actually own you. That's the sort of information I'm looking for.
Okay, Scott, just face facts. It's not all going to come in one email with 2 or 3 links. It's probably going to come over the next week with several links.
Yeah,
I've got to find them.
Just
as I find them, I'll send them.
Just 2 or 3 key links is all I'm looking for. You know, the ones that say, hey, and people say, whoa, and the source is absolutely irrefutable. You know, we have some Jimmy Blogs who's got a website called happydays.com, and in there there's this PDF which talks about this sort of stuff. It's got to be something that actually is from a reputable source.
Okay, will do. I'll start sending you some emails. Okay,
buddy. And look, once we got all those together, I'm very happy to put this up there and let the community know what's going on. But
yeah, because look, I'd like to talk to 1 or 2 legal people myself as well, because as I say, I want to see if the way I see things legally is the way they see things legally.
Yeah. Well, what I don't want to do is I don't want to put something out there that is a load of bullshit, and then all of a sudden everybody comes down and hammers my channel on YouTube. And that's why I need. That's why I'm a skeptic. Right now, I have to tell you, I'm a skeptic. I understand a lot of a lot of the things you say ring bells, and I say, "Whoa, that's right." Like fiat money, fiat money is worthless. It's a load of shit. It's all based on trust and faith. There's nothing backing it at all because it's all based on debt. But you know, when it comes to countries being companies owned by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, and we being like little entities which are their assets, that is something which does not ring true. And those are the areas I need you to actually clarify through evidence in documents to me.
I'll start sending you some stuff, and then you can check into it yourself. And then once you've checked it yourself, you can say, okay, is what I'm seeing true or is it rubbish?
Actually, what I'm going to do is once I get your links and your PDFs, I'm going to put them up underneath this video, and I'm going to say to my subscribers, because I've got a lot of subscribers who are lawyers and they're people who research, and I'll say, hey guys, here's the stuff I've got. This is what Mike is saying. I would love your feedback. And if they come back and they say Mike's hit the nail on the head, then we're going to be having lots of discussions. But that's how this community channel works, because we like to involve the people who are involved in it.
Cool. Okay, Scott, listen, thanks for your chat. I will get you stuff, but as I said to you, I cannot promise that you'll get it all today or all tomorrow, but you'll definitely get lots of stuff from me. That's a promise.
Not a problem. Okay, buddy.
Okay. Thanks.
I better get to bed. It's been a long day. Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.